Hi everyone, this is Neil from neilcollins.de. Welcome to another Business English coaching tip, and I'm really excited about this one. This one is about negotiations and dealing with breakdowns. And I talked about this in two of my courses this week, and I basically told students this great story which comes from a TED talk that I watched. The talk is called The Walk from No to Yes, and the talk is by William Ury, who also has a really fantastic book about negotiations called Getting to Yes. And he tells the story at the beginning of his TED talk about an old Arab man who basically says to his first son, "When I die, son, I'm going to give you half my camels." And to his second son, he says, when I die, son, I'm going to give you a third of my camels. And to the third son, he says, "Son, my third son, I'm going to give you 1/9 of my camels when I die." So the farmer or the father dies, and the sons see that there are 17 camels. Now, 17 does not divide by a half, 17 doesn't divide by a third, and 17 does not divide by a 9th. So they started talking about this, and they became really desperate. There was no solution, and they went to a wise old woman in the village and they asked her for help. And this woman said, "I don't know if I can help you, but you can take my camel." And with this camel, they had 18 camels. The first son took half, the second son took 1/3, and the third son took 1/9. So half of 18 is 9. 1/3 of 18 is 6, and 1/9 of 18 is 2. So that was 17 camels. And with the final camel, they gave that back to the wise old woman. And I think this is a brilliant story, and also a great metaphor for what happens in a lot of negotiations when negotiations come to like a deadlock and there seems to be no solution. Well, what I want to talk about are 3 ways to break that deadlock. Okay, the first way is basically to look at the situation again, or to look at the situation with fresh eyes, like in the story of the 17 camels. They stood back and they all looked at the situation again, and the wise old woman was able to then see a possible solution. The second point is to introduce a new element, to throw something else into the mix. Of course, in the story of the 17 camels, that was the 18th camel. And the third point I want to talk about is to use a mediator. So in a situation where there seems to be no other solution to break that deadlock, it often helps to bring in a third party to help. Like in the story of the 17 camels, the third party was the wise old woman. I also want to give you some phrases that you can use in these situations. So in this situation, when you want to look at the situation again, what you can say is, "Let's look at this from a different angle." Let's look at this from a different angle. I'll just write that for you here. So let's look at this from a different angle. In the situation where you want to introduce a new element, you can say, "Why don't we add something new to the mix?" So "why don't we" is like saying "let's." Why don't we add something new to the mix? I'll write that here. Why don't we add something new to the mix? And finally, in this third situation where you feel there's no other solution and you need to bring in a mediator, you can say something like, "We seem to be getting nowhere here. I think we should bring a third party in to resolve this. I think we should bring a third party in to resolve this." And I'll also write that here for you. Okay, I think we should bring in a third party to resolve this. So these are phrases that you can use, you know, when you're preparing and when you're planning for that negotiation and you think that you might have a breakdown. You know, these are some tips that you can use to deal with that breakdown. And as usual, if you like the video, please hit the like button and please share the video. You know, share the video with your colleagues and with your team members and with your friends and with anyone you know that's learning business English, because I really think it's important that people should know this. And, you know, together we can all manage the breakdowns in negotiations and in talks. Thanks a lot for watching the video.